What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode once again. Sporting news for this week. It's going to be a very, very light week. There wasn't particularly too many things that happened over the weekend of sports. The only thing we sort of really got main traction on was obviously the Carabao Cup final between Arsenal and Man City, where Man City won the game 2-1 with a brace from Nico O'Reilly, who is a left back, playing at left back, it seems, but looked more of a left attacking midfielder the way he was going up and down the box. And, that's put a lot of pressure on Arsenal to potentially close out the league because, let's be honest here, Man City are still lurking. They still got to verse them at the Etihad to cut the deficit to about 7 points, plus their game in hand, which brings them to about 4 points. So, yes, it is Arsenal's sort of title to lose, but that match would have given Manchester City a whole world of confidence, knowing that they got their number against Arsenal. And, when push came to shove, Arsenal was simply not good enough. Would you start Kepa in that game? I don't know. He's been starting all cup games and, he makes a mistake. A lot of people do make mistakes, so I've got mixed feelings on that. Hincapié, obviously, having that yellow card really stopped him from being the aggressive defender he is normally, with Semenyo just really running rings around him, and what a new signing he's been as well. And shout out to the centre-backs, Ake and Kuzmakov as well. I think they were really, really solid, but Arsenal just not good enough. And, you really expect more from their stars. Like Saka should have done, I think, a lot better in that game. Missing Eze for a bit of X factor was something big. So I think everyone's going to be really excited to see what's going to happen when these two guys verse in a few weeks at Etihad. And I think it will be sort of a game that if Arsenal win, you could pretty much give them the title as well. But yeah, Man City, Carabao Cup champions. Pep was really happy. Is it because obviously he had the number on Arsenal and the magnitude of the game? Because he was really, really happy after. Is it the fact that they didn't win a trophy last year and they get one this year? We'll have to wait and see. But nevertheless, a massive result for Manchester City, where we've also seen some negative results when it comes to sort of those Champions League places with, Chelsea getting smacked up 3-0 to Everton, Beto Brace and a beautiful Njai goal. Honestly, they're really struggling. They're a meme team at the moment. And the biggest meme team is obviously Tottenham. They also lost 3-0 at home to Nottingham Forest. And man, they are literally it's scary. They might relegate. They really might relegate. Condolences to Igor Tudor and his father obviously passing away. It's sad, but it looks like there's one foot out the door for him because he's not looking to change this team. And then Liverpool losing 2-1 to Brighton. I think it's slot last season. A lot of people are calling for his head. And it just got announced today that Mohamed Salah will be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season, which, could he be Liverpool's greatest goal scorer and obviously top 3 greatest players of all time in the club? You can make a really big argument to say yes. And, they're going to miss him big time. Obviously, he's regressed this season, but losing a goal machine like him and someone that means so much to the football club, that's given so much. He's won 2 Premier Leagues, he's won a Champions League with them. It's going to be a big loss. And they're starting to lose those sort of players as they move into sort of a new identity here. Obviously, still got Virgil, still got Robertson, still got Alisson from sort of that Champions League winning side. But otherwise, they are really losing a lot of the players that, made up the club. And Slot might not be the guy for them. And you've got Xabi Alonso available. He might be there just to swoop in and potentially take a role because, yeah, I don't think Slot's done enough to keep his job. I don't think Liverpool fans are happy with him. And I also don't think that their game style and the way they've been playing has been good enough. Everyone was excited for this little 4-2-2-2 system that they were playing, and Brighton just sort of demoralized them because they looked really good in Champions League. But, now they're struggling. They've obviously got a very tough FA Cup tie against City. They've also got a really tough Champions League tie against PSG. And, they're still trying to make a top 5 place in the Champions League, where I think an English team needs to get one more point in a European, or one more draw in a European competition to qualify for 5 Champions League spots. So you've got Arsenal, Liverpool still in there. You've got, I think, Villa in Europa League, all Conference Leagues. And so basically they are going to get that point, and there's going to be 5 spots available, which means that it looks as though that Manchester United, although drawing 2-2 to Bournemouth, where I think we got blatantly robbed, have locked in a Champions League spot. Now, the question is, do we keep Carrick or not? I'm leaning towards no, based on the performances that I've seen. The results have been good. And for the time being, what we need right now is a stabilizer, someone that can come in and sort of steady the ship. And Carrick's done a really good job on that. But to get someone in that hasn't got that experience, the play style hasn't been good, the fact that we're probably lacking a few players, and we're also lacking games, which more games mean more squad rotation, which means more difficulty managing. To me, it just suggests that Carrick is probably not, he's going to out of his depth there, and he's not going to be good enough. So I will be reluctant if we do sign him on. It seems that all sides are leading towards that, mainly because a lot of the sources and what people were saying are suggesting that we're not even actually interviewing other coaches. So they're happy with Carrick at the moment from a results perspective. But again, I think performance is very important and will give you an indication on how Manchester United will be. And, with additional competitions, can they really sustain that level of performance as they're doing this year, or that level of getting those results, more importantly? Because, yes, I don't think the performances have been there overall. But we're going to find out in over 20 days, because there's not going to be much Premier League from then, because we've got qualifications. And am I excited to see Albania taking on Poland in potentially a first-time opportunity for Albania to make a World Cup? I'm keen for that. I think it's going to be exciting. Tune in Friday night. Friday morning, we've also got a few other matches between Turkey and Romania. Look out for that, because that winner could potentially be in Australia's World Cup group. We've got Czech Republic and Ireland, who I think are another potential. Denmark, North Macedonia, Italy, Northern Ireland, Poland, Albania, as I said, Slovakia and Kosovo, our brothers, Ukraine, Sweden, Wales, and Bosnia. So, lots to play for. I'm really hoping Albania can get to the next stage. It's going to be difficult taking on Poland away. And, I think we'll be aiming for a 1-0 victory. I hope we can get it. I'll definitely be keen for that. And, I'm really excited to see how the World Cup will take up and which teams from this European playoff will advance to the World Cup finals, which is less than 3 months away, which is crazy. I'm really excited for a bit of World Cup football. I feel like it's been so long since we've seen it. And I think it's going to be awesome to just, get World Cup football back and running. So, yeah, look out for the World Cup and, how things will sort of go down in that. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. If you do enjoy episodes like this, or this episode specifically, be sure to leave a comment and a 5-star review wherever you do get your podcasts. It'd be also great if you could like and subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts, so we can continue to show this out to people that see sports exactly the way that you do. But without further ado, let's get straight back into it. And moving on to a bit of a AFL recap for round 2. Again, still throwing off with the bloody round 0. Yeah, the Hawks taking on Sydney, getting the victory at the G there. The Swans are proving to continue to be chokers when it comes to playing in Melbourne. And, they're a really good side. They look really strong, but I think Hawthorn at home just proved to be stronger. And then we had the game of the round, a 6-point thriller. Adelaide taking on the Doggies, who the Doggies right now are the best team in the AFL. They've beaten Brisbane away from home. They smacked up GWS at Etihad or Marvel. And now they just defeated the Adelaide Crows at the Adelaide Oval. What a crazy result. Unbelievable there. Adelaide turned it up in the fourth quarter, or else they were pretty boring. And I think the Doggies deserved it. But how good was that Oscar Baker goal? Call it a fluke, call it whatever. Was simply incredible. And Bond Jr., Fraser, unbelievable first half, very dominant with those 3 goals. And, the Doggies are looking really strong. And Bont is making a huge Brownlow case at the moment. If he's able to especially get this team into top 4, which right now, I know it's early, they look to be a lock for a top 4 spot. Them and Gold Coast just simply look amazing. The Gold Coast, speaking of them, smacking up Richmond by 68 points. Virtually a bye week for them. The Saints get their campaign up and running in a 4-point scare against the GWS Giants away from home. I tipped them, and I'm really happy with that tip, because I was the only one that tipped St Kilda, needed to do a hot take. I did expect it, only because of their really good record at, what's it called? The bloody stadium. I always forget. Energy Stadium. And also the fact that, they have a war chest. How can they not get a victory and go 0-3? Freo smacked up Melbourne. They're looking really strong. They moved really quickly. They moved on really quickly after that loss in Geelong. And then the one that's crazy is Port Adelaide just smacking Essendon. You talk about West Coast and how shit they are. Essendon are a complete shit show. They are shit. Their defense is terrible. They are rubbish. I feel sorry for any Essendon fan because they do not look good whatsoever. Like, they look really, really bad. And then you got West Coast beating North Melbourne, which was one of the big surprises as well. We really thought that North Melbourne were going to smack West Coast up, considering that they went and smacked Port. And I was going on to say that they could win 6 in a row. And, in typical North fashion, they find a way to fuck it up because West Coast completely dominated. How good was William Dersma? He was unbelievable. What an unbelievable first-round pick. Harley Reid had 30 disposals, got smacked up, but, he was laughing at the end with that victory. And, mate, Milan Murdoch, who's not going to be able to play next week, is a jet. He was a Sparky a few weeks back, and now he's just tearing it up at Optus. Unbelievable stuff. And, North Melbourne hopefully move on from this quick, but it was a quite embarrassing loss for them. I didn't expect that. But we'll move on to round 3, where we've got the first game of the round, which is probably the most, I think, biggest game and most important game, especially for both these teams. You've got Geelong at GMHBA taking on Adelaide Crows. I do expect Geelong to win this, but they do have a few outs, but I just think they'll hold strong at their stadium. And I heard that there was a stat that Adelaide have only won 3 times out of 31 games there. So take that as you will. Geelong look really strong. Oh my God, they just zoomed in. Did you see that, guys? That was crazy. Look at my AI camera go. We have Geelong getting the victory as I predicted. And then we move on to the game where I'm going to be at. It's Collingwood taking on GWS at Marvel Stadium. Look, I'm not a big fan of Marvel. I don't really like it, but not really doing much on a Friday night. So why not go watch a potential game where we've got Oscar Steen making his debut in the ruck, which to me assumes that Darcy Cameron is going to spend a little bit more time up forward, which helps us big time. I think we're getting Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe back, which is going to be really important. And then that's why I think we're going to get the victory here. And I think we'll make quick work of GWS. A lot of people don't think that, but I definitely think we can get the victory here easy. And then we got St Kilda taking on Brisbane. This one's tough. I think Brisbane get it done, but I'm not convinced from it. I think St Kilda showed a lot, and this is a big chance for them to show what their war chest and how their footy actually is with a statement victory. Could it happen? I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going with Brisbane. Freo and Richmond at Optus. Freo should smack Richmond up here. I don't really expect too much. And then probably the one of the shittest games of the round. But, everyone, for what it's worth, 2 shit teams going up against each other calls for an entertainment match. And I think Essendon and North will be really entertaining, but I think North Melbourne will get this one done. I think they will win convincingly. I think Essendon are no good, and they're seriously going to consider reevaluating Brad Scott. I think he needs to go, but I think their team is just really bad, especially down back. I think anyone can score. I reckon I could go in there in the pocket and get a couple. I'm not even joking when I say that. You've got Port taking on West Coast as well. Port should win this one, but West Coast looking really alive. I just think that being at Adelaide Oval will be too difficult, and Port came off a very strong win against Essendon. And then you've got Carlton taking on Melbourne. Look, a lot of people are favouring Carlton in this one, but I reckon the D's will get this done. I think Max Gawn is just bloody elite, and, I don't see Carlton being that good, man. They haven't really shown anything. They nearly lost to bloody Richmond. So how can I see them losing to Melbourne, beating Melbourne here? I just don't see it. But that pretty much wraps up round 3. Those are my tips. As we look at the table, as I go up to my screen, Gold Coast and Bulldogs are the only teams undefeated, sitting at 3 wins and no loss. So I get a bit worried about Collingwood, but if they go 2-1 here, they'll be really good. But then Sydney is 3rd, Hawks 4th, Freo 5th, North Melbourne 6th. Won't be there for long. Port 7, Adelaide 8, Collingwood 9th, Geelong 14th. There's a lot of teams that have won one game. The teams that are yet to win are Richmond, Brisbane, and Essendon. And I think I expect to see Richmond and Essendon down there for a very long time. And then wrapping it off with a few WWE updates. We have AJ Lee and Becky Lynch confirmed for WrestleMania, going for the Women's Intercontinental title. Everything else hasn't been updated. We're wondering what the hell's going on with Gunther. Is he going to get a WrestleMania spot? Is Bron Breakker going to come back and verse Seth Rollins? Is LA Knight going to make an appearance? We don't know as of yet. There is less than 3 weeks to go until WrestleMania happens. And, the card hasn't taken full shape. And and this WrestleMania has been very underwhelming in terms of its hype. And I'm a bit disappointed because lately the way Triple H has been booking shit suggests that they're just doing a lot of last minute stuff and it's very rushed. And I don't really like that. So look, Raw just happened. There wasn't too much traction. I'm hoping SmackDown this week can sort of change trajectory of what's going to happen for WrestleMania. But otherwise, we haven't got anything else confirmed besides obviously CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton. We've got now AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, Obafemi, Brock Lesnar. And I think Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, and Liv Morgan, Stephanie Vaquer. Otherwise, there isn't anything else confirmed. So take it out as you will. There's still a lot of cards available, and the WrestleMania needs to sort of shake it up a bit, I think, because, we're getting a bit of dull bookings for the rest of the cards. So hopefully they change that. But otherwise, you know what? It's been a quick one, guys. And apologies for that. But that's pretty much your sporting news for this week. NBA is just still becoming a shit show when it comes to tanking. There's no updates on, obviously, the franchises coming in. Cade Cunningham collapsed lung, which is sad. Luka Doncic is balling out of his mind. And the Wizards are still shit and tanking, which I'm sort of low-key happy about. March Madness. How can I forget? March Madness is on. Keeping in track with that. Florida lost. They were the champions last year. They lost as the first seed. All my eyes are looking at potentially Duke to take it out. And essentially, I think there's another team that is looking pretty strong, Michigan. So one of those two, I think, will win it. But, we'll keep tabs of that. The national championship game will happen very soon. We'll obviously talk about that when it comes. But look out for the likes of like Cam Boozer. I think he's having a deep run into the championship as well. So, we're getting close to potentially finding out who's going to be in the lottery and who's going to be the top 4 picks. And playoffs are right around the corner for NBA. But yep, that's been your sporting news. You've listened to another episode of The Huddle Within. I'll catch you guys next week. Cheers. So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.